All right, Chelsea fans, welcome back. That's right, to another episode of the London is Blue podcast. Hopefully, your favorite Chelsea podcast out there, and a part of the Men in Blazers Media Network, a podcast celebrating the second place team in the Premier League, Chelsea Football Club. That's right, no shenanigans with alphabet antics from our friends on the other side of London. Nick, it's an opportunity to celebrate a pretty comprehensive Chelsea victory against I don't even know if they would be good enough to be in the Conference League right now. Let's just be very honest. This Southampton team is bad.
Yeah, they're on a historic bad trajectory right now. They could have really used old Leslie in the lineup today because woof, they are not very good. Also, when you say second place Chelsea, it's just like think back to where you were this time last year when we
Remember
were in
last season?
11th or 12th place, down the table, couldn't catch a break, injuries all over the place. Everything's kind of coming up Millhouse right now, Dan. I don't know.
It does feel good. Maybe it's coming up Maresca is more what we should say, considering he has had a very good start to his time as a Premier League manager, a very great time in top flight football. And we will talk about him and a bunch of other things in this episode, including just who the man of the match was, because after the first 15, 20 minutes, it did get better. It did get back on track. And when it went down to 10 men, unfortunately, it was not going to be a good day for the Saints, but that was good news for Chelsea in return. Let's talk about the fact that Enzo Maresca made multiple changes and what that means for maybe who some of those B team players are that are knocking on the door of trying to get more first team minutes, particularly with a packed December schedule. I mean, who is not necessarily putting themselves in contention for that call up to that side. And then I think we do want to talk a little bit more about Maresca just in whole, how he's doing. How do we feel about the form that he is in? And then the real question, are Chelsea actually title contenders? And I know Nick requested this one as a topic. So
there's nothing more I
had to
love.
do it. My hands were tied. My hands were tied, listeners and viewers. But of course, we want to get our 3-word match reviews in first. And Nick, I selected a sampling from the people who were in fine spirits. You might even say holiday cheer inspired 3-word match reviews.
I mean, I'm wearing the sweater just to pay homage to that. If you're a YouTube watcher, Jeremy 88, Saints need salvation. Yeah, that is nothing but facts there for sure. J Dubs with shot. A little is that 303? 303.
It's LMFAO.
LMFAO. You're right. Yeah. Boy, we had some trash music back in college, didn't we? Blue Badger with bangers and smash. I like that. That's very good. Clever from Blue Badger. Just Rota. I don't know if you've ever heard of her on our coverage of some South American talent, but a part of the London is Blue family. Enzo Maresca, a little count there for our manager who gets his first real public adoration, I would say, from the away fans. Marsha McLean with wealth of talent. Clever. Common Sense FC with down Bad Hampton. Yes, there's no doubt about that. And then Mr. Thurman, a regular of the 3-word match review fame. Why not us, Dan? Why not us? You had to, didn't you? You couldn't help yourself. You were... Look. This man can't be controlled when he's putting in the 3-word match.
We're in second place, and we're not mathematically out of the race for the title. Just put that in your cap and enjoy it. I went with Saints. Hairy bad. It was a hairy bad team that they are. A hairy bad day for them.
Mine will be a thing that we talk about here in a bit, which is should have been 10. Legitimately, we could have scored 10 goals today. 10 Premier League goals in a game.
The listeners, longtime listeners and viewers, if you have, we know that there are a lot of them. We know that at least 4,400 of you, according to Spotify Wraps. Thank you to everybody who shared those with us. Very rewarding day in December every year. We get a chance to see those and see the people. I think it was like over 10,000 who have us as a top 5 and over 13,000 who have us as a top 10 podcast. Thank you so much. That's really, really rewarding. Longtime listeners and viewers of the show will know that I do not buy into your whole should have scored 5, should have scored 10. The math doesn't always work out. This is one of the times you're not being hyperbolic, Nick. I actually am 1000% in alignment with you that this could have been a game, 7 goals, 8 goals, 9 goals, 10 goals, very much on the cards. 3 hits of the woodwork, a wild miss from Joao Felix. I just like some things that just should have gone in the back of that net that for whatever reason, whatever force field they were using, whatever magic spell that they were conjuring, whatever last bit of luck that they were trying to maintain in Southampton, boy, oh boy, delivered them from having the worst Premier League defeat of all time.
I know because we have joked many times about could Nick have finished that goal? Okay.
We have.
The Joao Felix one, I at least would have got on target. I am very sure from 4 feet out with the goal gaping in front of me and the goalkeeper on the other side of the goal that I would have hit the target. Maybe it doesn't go in, maybe he makes a great save, but I'm very sure that just hitting the ball down into the ground perhaps yields a better result than whatever the fuck that was. And what's really upsetting to me about that one, he wasted an incredible Cole Palmer little twist and dish. It surprised everyone so much that Joao Felix didn't have a marker around him for yards, just wide open. That one pissed me off. But there's better things to talk about. Just saying, should have been 10.
There is, and we're going to get into that. And we have, again, it was a match against Southampton this past Wednesday, December 4th, 2024. And typically we say the competition, and we're very honest about it. We say the Premier League. Are we really sure it was the Premier League? At St. Mary's Stadium.
Not for long for them, man. That's a team that shall be in the championship next season. Yes.
Scoreline: Southampton 1, Chelsea 5. The goals came in the 7th minute, a Di Sassi goal off of an Enzo Fernandez assist. And then in the 11th minute, Kyle Walker-Peters with the assist for Rebo to get them level. But it wasn't long before Chelsea got back in pole position and then kept it the remainder of the way. 17th minute for Christopher Nkunku with the Madueke assist. And then Madueke gets his goal in the 34th minute with a Felix assist. 76th minute, Cole Palmer gets the tap in, the easiest goal he may ever score at Chelsea with an Nkunku assist. And then Jadon Sancho gets his first Chelsea goal off of a Malo Gusto assist. Nick, you have a lot of options to choose from here. Which was your favorite of the 5 goals that Chelsea scored?
I mean, I'm going to just say this. It's the dumbest goal was the Nkunku goal in the 17th minute. Honest to God, the first thing I was thinking about when I watched Southampton try and play out of the back in this game is like, I thought that's how we were going to look at times this year.
Mm-hmm.
And thank everybody that we are not in that mode. And we are much more competent, even with some dodgy goalkeeping at the back. But God, believe me, if you are not drilled in this formation, that is what happens to you. You try and play out of the back against a team that can kind of press. And I wouldn't even say like we're the best at it. I mean, if they, I just don't even know what they would do if they played like prime pressing City or prime pressing Liverpool. Oh my God. Yeah, I like that one because it was a heads up play and Madueke won the ball and then made the smart pass and then Nkunku finished off. For all the goals that we made look hard, the off the post, off the crossbar, wide header, all the bullshit, the easy slot into the back of the net. I love to see those go in. Let's go.
I don't know. I mean, I think it has to be the Sancho goal. I think the Sancho goal, first goal for his boyhood club, having assisted several, having come close a couple of times in other appearances, having a little bit of a fitness issue to kind of work through to get back into the side, coming in very late in the window and coming in as a loan with a obligation to kind of bring him into Chelsea to figure out a way forward. I mean, you're definitely happy you're not a Manchester United player anymore. That's for sure. Second, you're getting a chance to be a part of this rocking Chelsea side. And third, the strike was awesome. Like, really great, just kind of nice, thunderous type of shot. And, he's providing strong contribution for the minutes that he's on the pitch. And so, I mean, all very enjoyable goals, and it's nice to see that people were assisting that maybe haven't assisted recently or previously, that some players like Enzo Fernandez are continuing to add to that goal plus assist element. Joao Felix getting involved too. Just in general, like I think a really strong, good vibes type of day, good vibes type of performance, even if at times it felt like we didn't unlock our killing instinct. We didn't necessarily go for the jugular. And it feels weird to say that when we talk about some of these stats. So why don't you just remind people, Nick, who was on the pitch and then who came off the bench as a substitute?
A rare Premier League appearance for Philip Jorgensen, who, doesn't get a clean sheet, but, does okay. The goal was not his fault on that one. Malo Gusto at right back returns to the lineup as a starter. Axel Disasi and Tosinado Rabayo, fully our B choice center backs in there. Mo Cucurella does maintain consistency at left back. We didn't go full Europa Conference League or UECL with Vega back there. Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo resume a often fraught double pivot. Did okay today. Noni Madueke, Cole Palmer, and Joao Felix in the attacking midfield. And then Christo Nkunku. We have long awaited. How do we figure out how to put Nkunku and Palmer and all these guys together? That four that's a dangerous front four right there in any game, regardless of if you're a bad Southampton team. That's a tough one to stop. So, use subs. Jadon Sancho, as you mentioned, gets his goal. That's wonderful. Vega does come in like the 79th minute for 10 or 12 charity minutes. Kieran Dewsbury Hall, very much the same. Unused subs. Bob Sanchez, Levi Colwill, Benoit Badiashile. Those are your now first team center backs. Those guys will be playing on Sunday against Spurs. Romeo Lavia, Nicholas Jackson, and Pedro Neto all getting some midweek rest, Dan, because we go to the Giant Toilet Bowl on Sunday, and sure, it'd be fun to shithouse there again, wouldn't it be?
Delightful. I mean, Nico Jackson does love scoring against Tottenham, so I think the call to make sure that he stays fresh and ready for that one, very, very positive. I want to go through a couple of just fun stats here, and we had 55% possession to their 45%. We had 5.29 expected goals. Again, it could have been much higher to the 1.47. I would call out that 5.29 is the most on record by a team away in the Premier League since 2008 and 2009 season. That is a very exciting stat.
That is a massive I mean, I don't remember the last time I saw a 4.7 or above. It's huge, and it feels like it should have been more. The XG on Felix's miss had to be 0.8. I mean, it was crazy.
Technically, we were 5.7 against Noah, and we were 4.2 against Brighton. So we have seen under Maresca a couple that align or near what we actually ended up scoring at full time with some of these teams. But just to have our third now match where the expected goals was above a 5 or even above a 4. Very, very cool thing to see. Very, very cool thing to recognize. Some of the other fun stats. We had 26 total shots to the 6 that Southampton had. We had 13 shots on target to the 4 that Southampton had. Arsenal had 14 total shots in their game against Manchester United, just to kind of present a perspective on what 13 shots on target actually means. 3 of our shots coming off the woodwork, 7 of them off target, 6 of them getting blocked, 22 of the shots coming from inside the box. So we were trying to really hurt Southampton from close proximity in this one. And then no yellow cards and no red cards for Chelsea. Not the same story for Southampton. 1 apiece for them. And, there's one random stat. We've scored 57 goals in 22 matches across all competitions this season. That is Chelsea's best goal per game ratio in a single season of our long and storied history, which does not begin in the 2000s.
Interesting. That's a big one. I like that. 57-22 is not nothing. I mean, that's better than, I think we've already passed I think Naz tweeted out, we've already passed the number of Premier League goals that we had a couple of seasons ago when we couldn't score a single goal.
Yeah.
So, and folks, we're now 14 games in. So
Florence and the Machine did sing that the dog days were over, and it does feel as if that is absolutely the case in this one. Why don't you give us a shithouse moment of the match, Nick?
Well, I mean, there's two of them here. The hair pull on Cucurella, which was rightly judged to be a red card, was incredibly dumb. He did sell it, and that's why I put it as a shithouse man of the match. But as I thought about this more, Dan, I think this was, if you remember, back to the start of the terrible season against Tottenham, where our good friend Anthony Taylor, who we will be reunited with on Sunday, just decided that the deliberate yank of Cucurella's hair was not going to be any sort of review or whatever. This felt like a little bit of payback for that, to be honest, because it wasn't very bad, it wasn't very tough, but it's a very clear rule. So I don't know what to tell you. It's like,
you break the rule, you should be adjudicated appropriately. Yeah. And that is what happened. And maybe it's a nod to this weekend in case something were to happen again, that we can point to a fact that there should be consistency. There won't be consistency. Spoiler. If something happens, it will go in the opposite of our direction. Thank you, AT. We appreciate and really admonish you.
Udogie could probably RKO Cucurella out of nowhere, and it'd be judged to just be a yellow card offense. That's probably what's coming on Sunday. The other shithouse moment of the match, and this was a self-proclaimed shithouse moment of the match from Cole Palmer on Instagram, getting his goal, but then saying, sorry, Nkunku, my FPL people needed me. They needed me in this one. And they did, because, he got close a couple times, has been having a good season, but, was a little lacking in this one. And he finally gets his goal. And that's super important. So, all good fun.
Look, I love a player who, like, we don't always see like a ton of personality from Cole Palmer. Like, I mean, he seems like the guy who would just enjoy mashed potatoes, and that's it. Like, it's all you need.
Chippy chips, Dan. Come on.
Yeah, that's right. Chippy chips. So in this regard, it is nice to see that he's having a little fun with it. And Nkunku did post on his comment on the post, rather, to indicate that he was okay with it. And so no drama necessarily being created from this one. We're going to take our first ad break. When we get back, it is all about who the player of the match was. Talk about those ups and downs from the subs to see who maybe is knocking on the door of the A team and who's still going to stay firmly with the B team. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. So Nick, it was Nani Madueke who is the official man of the match, having a bit of a bounce back performance. I think if you had listened to the pre-match preview that Sam and I did, we talked a lot about Nani Madueke and needing to kind of return to a goal and assist contributor, because players like Mykhailo Mudryk were knocking on the door with some of the Conference League appearances they were making. Nani Madueke heard it. He clearly listened to the pod. He clearly had it. He used it as fuel. He used his locker room material, and he came back with a vengeance. This was a phenomenal performance with him on the day. Enzo lauded a ton of praise on him. I want to get to that in a second, but just your thoughts on how he contributed, and maybe was he your man of the match?
I think on balance, he probably was my man of the match. There are plenty of options to choose from here. I think you can look at, someone like Nkunku, or, if Felix actually hits the broadside of a barn, you could look at Felix, who got an assist in this game. Enzo Fernandez was all right. There's plenty of options here, but I think on balance for me, he scored the most difficult goal of the night. He was a constant threat out wide. He was the outlet almost the entire time that he was on the pitch. And, I think he started to show some of the things that was maybe just missing over the last few weeks with his performances, which is the willingness to take the opposition player on, to blow by them, to set someone else up in the box. He obviously got an assist for the Palmer wonder goal at the end of the match on Sunday, but wasn't as much of a force in that game as he was in this game. He was an absolute force, and he took a ton of attention away from a lot of other players to free them up to do good stuff too. Obviously gets the assist on for the take on, and then the pass over to Nkunku on the empty net. Again, I think it's hard to, part of me is like, yes, he played well. Part of me is like, it's hard to judge against opposition like this, that are clearly not going to remain in the Premier League next season. But we need him to play at this level regardless. Like, we can't have these lapses where we're not getting enough from him and we're thinking about, ooh, is Sancho the right winger or whatever? Like, if he's going to be the guy, he has to be the guy. And tonight, he certainly looked like he took that responsibility on himself pretty clearly. And I think he did a really good job.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at some of the just stats for him, and like this was he's had a bit of drought between every contribution he had, right? Like his first appearance in match week 2, he scores a hat trick against Wolves. Really, really kind of impressive. You think, oh my gosh, Nani Madueke is going to just rock up and be absolutely incredible. Doesn't score again until the beginning of October, and the match against Nottingham Forest with the draw that we had there. They think, okay, is this the bounce back? Are we ready to go? Is he going to get involved again? Goes through a run of successive starts. Liverpool, Manchester United, Newcastle United, Arsenal, Leicester. Doesn't score or assist in any of those. Gets back on a contribution in the match against Villa, and now has an opportunity to kind of add a goal plus an assist to kind of his contribution, and could have had several more. Like, just kind of ridiculous that he's only walking away with one. I actually think it could have been the second Nani Madueke hat trick game, like, yes, very easily.
Yeah, everything about this place is shit. The
Part 2
sequel. Yeah, I mean, the one he missed off the rebound, I have no idea how he put that in the stands. I mean, all you have to do is just tap it in. Like, Happy Gilmore, let's go. Like, that's all you have to do. And then the one at the end, right before he was subbed off, where he hits it with his right foot, but we all know that the right is not where he wants to be. He definitely wants to get on that left. He has to put that far post and just slot it across like that. For a footballer of his, I believe his quality and his capabilities, like, that's an easy finish, regardless of if it's your weak foot or not. Like, that one has to go across goal. But yeah, look, 5 goals, 2 assists on the season in the Premier League. He's scoring frequency is down to 187 minutes. So, kind of roughly goal every or scoring contribution every 2 games right now. Let's get that down to a game and a half, something like that. He goes through these waves. And I think this is, as you get into the quotes from Maresca here, we've seen this sort of treatment from Jose to players. They have a good game. No, you fucking didn't. Like, famously, Joe Cole has told tons of these stories, right? Where he's like, hey, Gaffer, I just scored a brace. I had a great game. He's like, you were terrible. You were the worst player on the pitch. Like that. I kind of am getting this sort of vibe. And I think that this is good for Nani because, I have noticed some of the stuff that Maresca is talking about in these quotes. And I think he has to break through that to become the sort of player that is a starting right winger at Chelsea every week without question. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, he will played at this point with tons of the season left to go. He'll have started 14 total matches for Chelsea across all competitions. He'll have featured in 14. He will have started in 12. He will have just shy of 1,000 minutes, 964. He had 1591, basically 1,600 minutes last season across all competitions, had 19 starts. So he's getting very close. Like, he will eclipse the start number this season. Mm-hmm. He will eclipse the matches played for an element. He had 8 goals and 3 assists all competitions, 11 last season. He's now up to 5 goals. He's now up to adds the additional assist in there, which will give him a second. So that gives him 6 in total. So he'll have 7 out of 11 and that's right around 63% of what he had all of last year. So that is a really good place for him to be in with tons of the season left. Like, very likely he will exceed that. He just needs 14 to hit his like total from his time at PSV for his best season kind of goal contribution there. So that would be a really, really good benchmark for him to exceed. And Maresca's comments, to your point, very much painted the picture of a player who he's very happy with the trajectory he has, but is not comfortable and is setting a standard for Nani to continue to push. And so Enzo's first comment saying, with Nani have a personal relationship, personal relation in terms of what he can do much more. The moment he starts to score assists, he's happy. He starts to drop a little bit. The reason why he's not playing today is because I do not like the way he trained. He has to understand he has to train every day good. He has to be ambitious. Nani scored one tonight. He has to go for the second and the third one. He has to give more assists. But overall, he's doing great. He's doing fantastic. He's doing even more in terms of numbers. He has to understand his work more because he can be much, much, much better. Multiple muches there. But I think this is an example to me, and we'll give a lot more praise to Maresca after we talk about a few more players, of setting the standard, leveraging the conversation in the media the right way, where you're praising the player, but you're also setting the expectation, not just for him. Like, this is absolutely expectation setting for everybody at the club on what their contribution needs to be. And like, things are going so well that you think, maybe we could take it a little easy. We've got some easier competition coming up. Like, no, this is the time to really push forward, to really assert what it means to play for Chelsea, what it means to have an acceptable performance, and like, what is the standard. And hats off to Maresca for setting the standard. Hats off to Nani realizing maybe his training wasn't where it needed to be and responding and doing so on the pitch and letting his performance do the talking.
Well, and in this team too, plenty of wingers to go around. Like, if you're not at the level, Jadon Sancho's right behind you. Pedro Neto's right behind you, right? Cole Palmer can still play right wing. I'm very goddamn sure of that. Like, these are not, this is a team where it's like, not only do you have to work hard, but like, you have to produce to be it's not enough to just work hard. And I think he's improved his defensive responsibilities a ton year over year. I think that he's obviously contributing more in terms of goals and assists and doing all the things, but like, he has to keep it up now, because it seems like every time he does well, Pedro Neto comes back. Jadon Sancho gets a goal in like 12 charity minutes tonight. Like, these guys want to play too. They're not here for shits and giggles. They want to play. So, it's imperative for someone, if he is to reach his like very high ceiling that he has, to be there consistently.
Yeah, I agree with you. So I do think official Premier League man of the match, our man of the match, Nani Madueke. I do think Nkunku would be a very strong second shout for it. I mean, the stat from our good friend Sam, CFC Central, he's the first player to hit 10 goals across all competitions for Chelsea this season. Brandon Busby was 1 year behind. He was one year behind on the Nkunku call for goal contributions to lead the team. So, look, maybe he's just a future seer and he didn't know it. Anyone else like you would want to say maybe could have been in that conversation or gave you a performance that was like in that level?
I think Enzo Fernandez was pretty good today. He's probably the only other one that I'd like throw into that group. Like, ends up playing a full 90 again. We're getting a few full 90s here in a row from him, after he had all the injury problems and everything. Got an assist in this one, 94% passing in this game. The way that we played on the counter in this game was ridiculous. Like, it was just huge gaps for him to run through midfield. He put a ton of really good, kind of medium, I wouldn't say long balls, but like medium balls into feet that were really good in attacking position. 2 big chances created on the night. Less on the defensive side, only wins 1 of 7 ground duels, which is tough. It's tough.
He does get bypassed occasionally. This is very fair.
Yeah. He did make 1 tackle, so in your face, Dan. But yeah, no, I thought that Enzo was pretty good. And notably, Caicedo was on the left, he was on the right. So this is now, I think, to our friend Keir Doyle's point many moons ago, he's looked much better on the right than he has on the left. And I do think that there's a it's probably not a coincidence that him and Cole closer together rather than farther apart is helping to shift defensive attention off of just Cole onto Cole and Enzo, the beneficiary today, Noni Madueke, right? Who is in acres of space all game because they're worried about those two. So you start to see how the chess is being played a little bit here, but he's the only other one that I'd kind of throw in for man of the match. I know that SofaScore has Malo Gusto at an 8.1 today.
I didn't feel like that was.
I don't think
the
so,
assist
man.
ultimately ended up bumping up the number there. They said they're supposed to be revealing some information about their metrics, but we'll see.
He won all 7 of his ground duels, though.
I think in a game where you really didn't have to play defense, it would be very hard. I'd be very hard pressed to give any defender the recognition for man of the match in this one when it basically was like NBA Jam for but soccer style. The Enzo shout, I think, is a really good one, too, because now with this assist today, 9 total goals plus assists, all competitions, 1 away from 10, which was the total he had for last season. His best contribution ever was 17 when he was still at River Plate, when he was just a wee lad of 21, being 23 right now, edging closer and closer to being 24.
So much more mature now, though, Dan, at 23 rather than 21.
He's had some big life changes that people are pointing to as the reasons for his recent success. 9. So, I mean, he's 1 away from his total last season, which we accomplished over basically 3,100 minutes. He is now just over 1,000 minutes. Like, this is a very, very good past couple games for him. I think it is still a cautionary tale because, like, I just want to see it through December and into January before the next international break hits. Like, give me between now and then a little bit more tape, but I'm very bullish. Like, if I was Jim Cramer, Mad Money, I'm buying some stock right now in Enzo because, like, I think you're still buying it low. I'm a little cautious on can he get it done through this really run of fixtures here, particularly as maybe some of the competition does improve. But look, any players on the B side, like, you know, we did pull a couple players into the side that don't necessarily start in the Premier League. Anyone who's like knocking on the door for you is like hey, maybe they've earned a start, or conversely, like, did they not show anything or did not show enough to say like you should not, like, you are adequately positioned to be a Conference League starter for Chelsea?
Felix could have taken a huge step toward that tonight.
He got an assist.
He did get an assist, but I think the misses were too much. I just, you know, we started converting at a higher level. He had a 0.6 xG in this game, and just 3 shots off target that, I mean, he could have had a brace tonight. I mean, that one he pulled wide, I think right after Disasi's goal, where he gets into a brilliant bit of space. There's one where he and Cole basically run into the same position when he's supposed to be on the other side. Like, I just, there's been a lot to like about him in, you know, against competition that is like way too easy for someone of his caliber to be playing against. And he did have an opportunity tonight to like do something and like really prove himself, because Southampton is also competition that he's much, much better than, right? But I don't know if I see enough to justify it. I think there is something interesting playing him and Palmer, you know, in the same lineup together, because I do think, you know, Maresca recently talked about his vision, Cole's vision. They see stuff. Cole just sees it and executes it, and Paul, you know, and Felix doesn't always do that. I don't think there was a whole lot of case made, regardless of if Nkunku had a good night. Jackson's just better in all phases right now, and that may hurt to hear. It might be that Nkunku slots in behind Jackson at some point when we're trying to do some rotation and get Palmer some rest. But you know, he doesn't press. He doesn't do the hard yard stuff that Nicholas Jackson does. And if he is looking to become a Premier League starter, which I think, there's been, some worry in Chelsea spaces recently that he wants to leave and all this sort of stuff. And he's a really good player. Already has 10 goals, all this, stuff. Maresca's been very clear about what you have to do to make it into the first team. The A squad are the best players that we have that are doing the best total job to make the system work. And it's worked to 57 goals already this year. So you got to do the defensive shit. And I don't see it from him either. I mean, obviously Disasi and Adebayo that's a non-talking point. I think some people were interested in Jorgensen after the heroics.
So I think he's probably the only one who people are going to ask the question about after this match, saying, look, we saw somebody who prevented close to 1 full XG of a goal. So it's a very good benefit for him. He did, come out, make some good claims. He did some good reading of the ball. I think the problem is we are calibrated really poorly at the moment for what good goalkeeping is and what good goalkeeping play should be. You have Rob Sanchez being someone who has the best total percentage in terms of shots prevented and shots blocked, but then also most errors leading to goal. You have this yin and yang of Rob Sanchez,
Jekyll and
Rob
Hyde,
and Bob.
Yeah.
They're Jekyll and Hyde. I think that it is a fun exercise to say, is Jorgensen necessarily the guy, or should you get more opportunities? Look, the FA Cup is coming up, and he's likely going to get an opportunity to play in those competitions. He's likely going to get a chance to run through the entirety of the Conference League. To me, I don't know if either is the individual I want between the sticks, but Sanchez is starting against Spurs. So if you're wondering and you had not seen the comments, Maresca post-match did say Bob Sanchez, hopefully it's Bob, not Rob, Robert, is starting against Spurs this weekend. So if you had hopes that Jorgensen had worked his way into the conversation, it seems like Maresca is going to need to see a little bit more still to get him involved.
He's looked slightly better. Okay. I think Jorgensen had a pretty tough start. He didn't look that good. He looked a little small between the posts, not super into every game. And we were making some just stupid errors, with the B squad defense, which is tough. But maybe he's the closest one. I would also just say Jadon Sancho's kind of fallen out of favor recently. Was ill, couldn't play against Manchester United. Maybe had some wasn't training super hard stuff going on. He's one that could be there. Notably no Mudryk in the team tonight. So maybe Sancho, but I think you kind of know who is who right now, and it will require someone in the B squad to go on a tear, to be super clinical, to do all the pressing, to win, the ball back and create chances for others. It'll take some absolute heroics to get them into a contention with, the big dogs that we have.
Well, we're going to talk more about the big dog himself, Enzo Maresca, and just how we're feeling about him so far. And then the title conversation, is Chelsea in it, yes or no? In just a moment, it'll be after this final ad break. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. Oh, Enzo Maresca, la 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 la, as they were singing in the stands at St. Mary's, Nick. It was all praise for the one, the only EM of Chelsea Football Club.
Yeah. Interesting that tonight was the night, I would have thought the Villa win's just a better win. It's some, these things happen organically. Who knows why? But
I think it's the way support was really solid. I mean, you've been away to St. Mary's with a very different result.
No, notably, I have, Dan. Thank you. It's a, it's kind of a small stadium, but it's kind of a cool stadium too. I enjoyed Southampton for what it's worth. I think that this is maybe the culmination of people noticing the progress that's being made. this season that, Chelsea are a club thrilling since 1905. You remember that tagline?
Yeah.
We're a club that wants to entertain. We're a club that wants to put on a show. We want to, not just be a foil to the other good teams, but to beat them, and to beat them with some style. And I think didn't feel that for quite a long time. And no, the mea culpa from me here. Let's just start off with this. Like, I thought we were going to have a horrifically bad start to the season with the way the preseason went. I thought the way that the system was being implemented, the unknowns around players who were staying or going, all the context from all those podcasts back in, July and August, like, I thought it was going to be too much. And it's turned out that he has navigated some rough seas. He's navigated a few critical injuries. He's navigated an ownership battle. And, more than anything, has just put his head down and got to work. I mean, he kind of has a cheeky smile and a way of speaking directly that I think puts people, that it's not, you're not throwing chum in the water for the sharks, right? He'll just say it as it is. And then get back to work. It's not, he's not Mourinho. He doesn't have to be the center of attention. And in fact, I think is often just the guy in the, bigging up the other people in the team. But the system's working right now, and it's good, and it's fun to watch. And, we're developing some players. We're, highlighting the strengths of some others. We're, building around the right guys. We're building around Moises Caicedo. We're building around Cole Palmer. We're building around Nicholas Jackson. We're, still determining which defender we're building around, but we'll figure that out. And goalkeeper obviously is its own conundrum, but there's just a lot to like right now. And so, I think everyone, who doubted, and I put myself in that class, I don't run away from these things, owes a mea culpa, and is excited to see what happens. I'm excited, Dan, to see, okay, opposition teams are going to figure this out, because this is what happens every year, right? A team will kind of come out of nowhere. It's us this year. What's the next evolution of the thing? What's the third evolution of the thing? How do we continue to reinvent what this is without losing quality and losing our principles and philosophy?
Well, if you go back to our preseason, our season preview, and the predictions we made, I mean, I think, you were 7 to 10 range. Brandon and I were both kind of in a top 6 perspective would be the range of finishing. I was a little higher on the points perspective than Brandon, and kind of like the 65 to 69 in the season. He was 60 to 64. I think you kind of put it right on 59. It's like, things have to go catastrophically wrong at this point to fall back down to the level. Don't doubt the chaos that Chelsea could have sometimes, because it does feel really good right now, and we are definitely on the axis. We are heading more to the trophy end of the spectrum for this Chelsea, particularly within the Conference League and how we're beating up on teams there. It is maybe ahead of schedule. And I think that is the thing that how I am kind of cautioning myself just a little bit, even though I am enjoying the hell out of this run at the moment. I am enjoying the fact that we are above Arsenal on the table. I'm enjoying the fact that we are multiple players are scoring, that we are not so goal dependent, that we are a Cole Palmer FC, as we talked about in the last match review, where we have grown beyond. We love the fact that Cole is contributing. We love the fact that he's taking care of his FPL owners, but it is nice to have Nkunku getting involved, Felix getting involved, Madueke getting involved. All of the attackers are finding ways to help support one another. And this is one of the more fun Chelsea teams to root for in recent memory. Great personalities, great supportiveness for others as they're on the pitch, the way that they celebrate some of the goals, the way that Cucurella becomes a fan, and the way that he celebrates some of the goals on the pitch. We've given a lot of criticism to squad composition, to squad building, to how some of the bets have not paid off. I mean, I think when Stanley and Stewart are probably looking at this right now and saying, this is kind of what we were hoping for. Todd Bowley and Badad looking at each other and be like, yeah, we can figure out a way to run this club together because we're all happy. Like everybody's winning. Winning fixes so many problems.
Fixes everything.
And so like Enzo, because he has the highest level of control on what happens within the match in terms of the players he puts out, in terms of the way he and his medical team and his training, his physical training team set up the players to be ready for game days, on how they rotate, on the tactics they set up. He's not perfect. Like there have not been plenty perfect matches in this, but the results have been good enough more often than not to get the result we need. And that builds confidence. It builds camaraderie. It builds buy-in from everybody from the board all the way down to the supporter and the Matthew Harding to say, like, this is a Chelsea we can get behind. And like, that is hats off to Maresca and very much deserving of the plaudits and the praise. The chant, "We got our Chelsea back," I think is very much like a great way to like cherry on the top of all this. Like we absolutely feel that way. And a great sentiment shared by the supporters in the ground.
And I do think like you mentioned, like, I'm enjoying this. Yeah, do enjoy this. Like I'm enjoying it. I love watching us score buckets of goals. I do. I love this. Like, you know, I'm all for a gritty 1-0 win against a title contender or a top 4 contender, or, you know, last year a top 8 contender, whatever the case is. But like, an easy win, sign me up. I'm right there. Like, let's take the good vibes as far as they'll go. We know, because we've watched football for 15, 20 years, that it will get harder, because it has to, because every other team is trying to win. Every other team is rethinking their strategy. Every other team is going to find a weakness in this system and they're going to try and exploit it. And then we know it's a copycat league, right? Everyone will try to do the same exact shit. So, but that shouldn't stop us from enjoying this moment. And let's just hope the moment lasts for as long as humanly possible. And then we have a manager who hopefully has the wherewithal and knowledge to adapt to a phase 2 and a phase 3 to beat the incoming adjustments. That's it.
So then that shifts to the last question. And look, Gary Neville is maybe alongside you, Nick. He's not putting Chelsea in the title contender conversation. Now, that was 2 days prior from today. So maybe things have changed in his mind with how fickle he can be.
Saw those 5 goals go up there and was like, shit.
The betting markets, not that we endorse kind of gambling or betting, but just using that as a proxy to assess what people who look at a bunch of numbers feel about the odds of certain teams winning the Premier League. Negative number being more likely, and then the larger the plus number being less likely that they would be the individual. DraftKings had Liverpool at -135, who are currently at the tippity top of the tree or the Premier League table at this point with 35 points, thanks to a draw against Newcastle. They did not pick up maximum points, which means Chelsea caught up a little bit on this match day here. Then it is Arsenal +225. Then it's Man City at +600 and Chelsea at +1400. So the betting markets are saying they still think that Liverpool, which again, mathematically, like with the lead that they have, you should feel more comfortable, more confident that they can continue to ride out these type of games. Though Arsenal, who are in third place currently, getting better kind of odds, City getting better odds, and they've had some really wonky results so far. And Chelsea just being viewed as kind of a fourth that is better than everybody else is kind of the way I read this. It's +10,000 for Tottenham. It's +15,000 for Man United, +25,000 for Newcastle versus like the +1,400 for us. So very much they view that as the top 4. And then there's a class behind within the Premier League, within that kind of like next grouping there. The one thing I would say, Nick, we can kind of go through in specific, I don't think we're going to get a true answer to this question until sometime in January. And the reason I say that is we've looked at our fixtures and we've talked very heavily about Chelsea's fixtures and Chelsea's very kind December. The Premier League scheduling computer, the AI algorithm, Hats off to you. We were praising it. We were super thankful. We're very excited about it. Arsenal, Liverpool, City, Brighton, all got extremely favorable Decembers. And I think it's going to be very hard outside of wonky results or slipping up, doing our own self-harm to create a lot of additional distance or kind of close some gaps, because it is not necessarily multiple top 6, top 4, top 2 clashes in the Premier League table in the month of December.
No, I mean, just to like quickly go down, it's Arsenal has Everton, Palace in the cup, in the EFL Cup, Palace, Ipswich, and Brentford. Those are bottom dwellers. Liverpool have Fulham, Southampton in the cup, Tottenham, Leicester, and West Ham. Let's go newly reinvigorated Leicester with your dancing. That's interesting. City have a very, very bang average United squad. Villa, Everton, and Leicester, they might have the toughest, but it's not brutal. And then Brighton have Fulham, Leicester, Palace, West Ham, Brentford, and Villa. So obviously they play Fulham tomorrow. Like as you're listening to this, they're on the Thursday to make up the match week. But like, yeah, it's I would just argue, before we get into like the, oh man, is Nick just being a Debbie Downer? Like most seasons, you don't really know who the title race will be on for a large part of the first half of the season. I'd say it's usually halfway through, and we're still 4 matches away from being halfway through. Right? If at the end of Boxing Day or whatever the case is that gets us to the 18th or 19th game, whatever that is, the table looks very much the same, or Chelsea have picked up ground, then I think, let's have a real conversation about like, is this a thing that could happen? Right? Because it's only been for the last like 6 years, it's really only been a 2-horse race. Right? It was City, Liverpool, City, City. Then, Arsenal tried and failed a bunch over the last couple of years, and are in a position to potentially fail again, which would be just lovely. But I don't think we can be having this. I know Match of the Day has to talk about it. I know Gary Neville has to like put out his bullshit and whatever. I just don't think it's like responsible to talk about that right now. I think if you would have told us at this point in the season, on August 12th or whenever the season started, that heading into the hardest part of our season, that we would be second place, we would have bit your fucking arm off to take. Like, we would have been so jacked. And the thing is, I think if you're a Chelsea fan, like, there's reason to be very excited about this team. There's reason to think that Liverpool is not all that in a bag of chips. Like, I think Liverpool have been very fortunate. I think they've been very good defensively, but they're a very thin squad. They get one guy that goes down in that defense, and they are in trouble. They get one midfield option that misses a couple games, they are in trouble. They're not deep, right? City, for all their struggling, is 2 points off of us. Okay? Like, I mean, let's just be serious about this. It's a jumble. I feel good. I don't feel great. Is that fair? Am I being too much of a downer?
No. So here's the thing. I think if you were in second place behind any team, if you're second place on the 1 through 20, like, you are technically in the title race. Like, you are in the title race until the point you are mathematically eliminated from competition. I think the thing that we need to check ourselves on is to not get caught up in being excluded from the narrative. Let the pressure be on Arteta and Arsenal for continuing to not deliver. Let pressure be on just recently extended Pep Guardiola, who might hit the eject button and be like, at the end of the season, nah, I didn't achieve it. I didn't win the league. I'm out. I'm going to go do something else for a year. Let the pressure be on Liverpool slipping up, and let Chelsea continue to drift behind, to
under
get
the radar.
to get the benefit of just coasting. And when the opportunity arises, to just absolutely bypass and blow by, to continue to build, to continue to get better, to take care of our own business. Like I know it's super fun. Like it is absolutely. Like I'm not saying if you want to go out and give shit to all of your Arsenal supporting friends, your City supporting friends, your Liverpool friends about like, hey, don't like objects in the mirror are closer than they appear. Like, go do that. Go have fun with it, because like this is a moment to have fun as a Chelsea supporter after multiple years of feeling like absolute crap watching the team.
Yes.
But I would love nothing more than this team to just be an absolute stealth attack on Liverpool and gazump them for the title, and everybody be like, why weren't we talking about Chelsea the whole season?
Well, and this is the thing. Like, you have to remember, this is a young team that has never been in this position before. Ever. Right? I think the worst thing that could fucking happen is everyone shows up, the next game at the Bridge and is starting to yell, title contenders and like boo when we don't score one of our 64 chances because they're worried about the table and all that. Like, do not worry about the table quite yet. We all know every Premier League season is February and March. That's where the winning is done. You got to get through this brutal festive fixture period where you're jammed up and playing every couple days. Chelsea are in a great position to rotate during this time, unlike last season when we didn't have the same depth, right? Like this is possible, but I don't want our fan base. If you're listening to this and you're like, oh man, I'd already done my marker on my sign for title. Just save it for a few weeks. That's all I'm saying.
Got their tattoo.
Please, for the love of God, just let these guys just be in the slipstream and just let them have some fun, because they're having fun right now.
Yeah.
Like, they're clearly having fun playing together. Don't put so much pressure on them yet. They've never been here, and they just need to live this moment for as long as they can before the going gets tougher.
I would agree with that. And you talk about the table, and we talked about it a little bit. Chelsea are second behind Liverpool at the moment, 28 points to their 35. We have closed the gap on the goal difference battle. Mm-hmm. We are plus 16 right now. They are plus 18. We are now plus 2 ahead of Arsenal, which is why they are in third position on equal points. You mentioned Man City in fourth place on 26 points. And then the gap has started to arrive, though Brighton, depending upon what they do against Fulham, might get back up to that 26 level. But in sixth place, Forest on 22 points. So we have a 6-point gap between us and 6, which is nice to see some of that light separation occurring, which is going to be great. And, it doesn't mean that, it means you don't take a game off. But if, something were to happen and be an aberration, you can kind of roll with that. On the very flip side of the table, though, Southampton, boy, oh boy, our competition, minus 19 on goals. They might not have the Sheffield United situation where they're like shipping 100 goals this season, but it's not looking good. They only have 5 points. Wolves on 9, Ipswich on 9, both with 14 matches played as well. Palace on 12 points. Everton winning today against Wolves. Really important for them, picking up those points to get into 15th place on 14 points. The table is the table. We are where we are. We celebrate the fact we're in second, but we know that we're hungry. We don't want a participation trophy. We are not Arsenal. We're not going to be celebrating getting second in the league and calling that an accomplishment. Like, it is all about the silverware. It's all about the advancement. It's about recognizing the steps on the path to get there. But this is a Chelsea team we can back, we can support, and may make it very easy to do with some enjoyable football, if not always scoring every opportunity they have, which is one minor criticism.
Yeah, if we scored all 10 of those today, we'd be up in the goal diff department. I'll tell you that right now.
They can't all be the Chelsea women, Nick. That's for darn sure.
No, you can't. They're back this week, which I'm very excited about. I think, look, Liverpool have the best defense in the league. It's not particularly close at this point. We have the best attack in the league. Let the best team win, man. And I'll say this about Liverpool too. I watched that Liverpool City game. We had just finished recording when that one was kind of just barely underway last week. City were awful. They were really awful in that game. We played Liverpool much tougher. Arsenal played them much tougher. I think this is a this is a moment maybe where Liverpool are flying high. They're going to hit a bump just like everyone else does. We'll see what happens. But right now they're 7 points ahead. So it's like, that's a lot of points. Let's do the best that we can do over this period and then reevaluate how things look.
Well, we will get to do that very, very soon because we'll match against Spurs coming up this weekend. That's right, this Sunday, an opportunity to do the business against our very just unfortunate little brother in London. So we will try to push them down, take 3 more points, continue
Charles.
our climb up the table, or at least get a little bit closer. Maybe there's some Liverpool antics that will prevent them from taking maximum points again. We can only hope, but let's take care of our business first and just enjoy this moment. Again, it took a lot of time to get back to a point where we could enjoy it as much as we're doing so right now. So don't lose that sight of that in this moment. That's going to do it for this episode. We're all done. We're all wrapped.
If Spurs want to give us another red card and potentially play the dumbest high line of all time and give Nico another hat trick, who am I to say no, Dan? That's all I'm saying.
It is the season of giving, Nick, so we can only hope. But that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to share those Spotify raps on social with us, too. We really appreciate those. We'll reshare those and engage with them. But that's going to do it for this one. What?
Just one more thing. If you are a person that has been interested in like yelling at us, like, hey, when are you guys going back to London? When are you doing another group trip? Blah, 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 blah. And by the way, that's all wonderful interest, and I don't mean to make fun of you, but we've received quite a few of those notes. News on that coming over the next week or two. We're looking at some options. So if you're interested and you want to get a hold of us, email contact@londonsbluepodcast.com. We'll have something for you. Wink.
Well, that is definitely not coal in the stocking. That sounds like something absolutely underneath the tree. But again, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back with tons more content coming your way. We've got a match preview coming. We've got some exclusive YouTube videos. And then we're live after the Tottenham game talking about hopefully another Chelsea win and not Anthony Taylor antics. So we will see you next time. And until then, keep the blue flag flying high.